माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतशी श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय नित्य लील प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतशी श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय इस्कॉन बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय समावेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manohishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swatarantikam Vachakaphajayascha Kripasindubhyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kam karoti vachalam bhangam namkayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dilataram Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining. Those who are joining live and those who will hear the recordings later. Thank you all. So we are continuing to read from third canto, chapter 10, Divisions of Creation, text 11. So the topic that we are discussing is time. Maitreya, Vidura has asked the question to Maitreya in the previous verse. Yesterday, Haridvani Prabhu discussed this. So he's asking about eternal time. Please describe to me about eternal time. And so Maitreya is answering that question with this verse 3, 10, 11. So let me see if I can read verse. Word by word. Maitreya uvacha guna vyatikara akaro nirvishesha apratishitaha purushash tad upadanam atmanam dilaya srijat Maitreya uvacha guna vyatikarakaro nirvishesho apratishthitah purushastad upadanam atmanam lilaya srijat Maitreya uvacha guna vyatikarakaro nirvishesho apratishthitah purushastad upadanam atmanam lilaya srijat. I'll read the translation and then Prabhu, you can read the purport. Thank you. Maitreya said, eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as an instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
I'm sharing the screen, Prabhu. It's a want me to read? I can read. Yeah. The
Yeah, please,
impersonal
please.
time.
Please read. Yeah, go ahead.
The impersonal time factor is the background of the material manifestation as the instrument of the Supreme Lord. It is the ingredient of assistance offered to the material nature. No one knows where time began and where it ends. And it is time only which can keep a record of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material manifestation. This time factor is the material cause of creation and is therefore a self expansion of the personality of Godhead. Time is considered the impersonal feature of the Lord. The time factor is also explained by the modern man in various ways. Some accept it almost as it is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, in Hebrew literature, time is accepted in the same spirit as a representation of God. It is stated therein, God who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. Metaphysically, time is distinguished as absolute and real. Absolute time is continuous and is unaffected by the speed or slowness of material things. Time is astronomically and mathematically calculated in relation to the speed, change, and life of a particular object. Factually, however, time has nothing to do with the relativities of things. Rather, everything is shaped and calculated in terms of facility offered by time. Time is the basic measurement of the activity of our senses by which we calculate past, present, and future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. Chanakya Pandita says that even a slight fraction of time cannot be purchased with millions of dollars, and therefore, even a moment of the time lost without profit must be calculated as the greatest loss in life. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor are the moments of objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that the time factor is intermixed with the activities, actions, and reactions of the external energy of the Lord. The external energy or material nature works under the superintendence of this time factor as the Lord Himself. And that is why material nature appears to have produced so many wonderful things in the cosmic manifestation. Bhagavad Gita 9:10 confirms this conclusion as follows. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate.
Okay, thank you so much, Lakshmikant Prabhu. I have the verse in front of me on the phone, just having some vision issues, so I asked you to read. Thank you. So this is a wonderful topic. Um, so as we know, the Bhagavad Gita, this is the Gita Jayanti month. Bhagavad Gita has 5 topics, right? Kāla, Karma, Ishvara, Prakriti, and Jiva. And Srila Prabhupada has explained, the Acharyas explained that amongst these 5 things, 4 are eternal. Jiva is eternal. Ishvara is, of course, eternal. Prakriti is eternal. Kāla is eternal. And karma is not eternal, meaning karma can change. Karma can be changed specifically by the process of devotional service. Karmani nirdhati kintuja bhakti bhajam, like Brahma Samhita verse says. So yes, there is karma, which influences, which is a sort of almost, they say it's an irrefutable law, but there is a slight loophole. If somebody takes shelter of Krishna, the process of devotional service, then one can be free from karmic influences. Anyway, the topic here is Kāla, so we'll not have an extended discussion about that. But anyway, so Kāla is eternal. So this is a very deep subject matter, one of the most complicated subject matters. When I was hearing a class yesterday in preparation for this class, His Holiness Srila Prabhupada Maharaj, coincidentally, 2012, a lecture in Boston. And Maharaj was sharing, well, one needs to maybe read this purport a couple of hundred times to understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying. And if you read the purports carefully, we see that Srila Prabhupada is making, principles. He's making statements one after the other, and each statement, can be explained, for hours and hours and hours. There are some beautiful statements here, and we'll try to explain this complicated subject. And what I was thinking is, I think the best way to explain this complicated subject is to further quote and refer to Shastra, because, and what can I say? Defective person. But if we hear from Shastra and the Acharyas about time, we probably, will have a better understanding than I blabbering something. So anyway, so here, one aspect is being discussed here is that time is an energy of the Lord. It is an impersonal energy of the Lord, nirvishesho, but apratishthita means irrefutable, timeless, unlimited, but impersonal, nirvishesho. Meaning time, we cannot see it, but is this there imperceptibly, it's present. And in this realm, as Prabhupada is writing the purport, in this realm, there is this concept of past, present, and future. And if you analyze it, really carefully, it seems that we only have the past or the future, because the moment is here and it's gone. It's so infinitesimal that it is gone. But of course, devotees experience even that moment. The devotees experience it differently, and the others, they experience it differently. And we are always encouraged to stay in the moment and be Krishna conscious, because all we have, and it's not this, like this mystical saying, all you have is this moment, like that. But literally, all we have, in one sense, this is the current moment we have. And in this moment, we can try to be Krishna conscious. And then a day is a series of moments. And then, a month is a series of days, weeks, like that, and an year, and a decade, and a quarter, and a century. So time is experienced, as Prabhupada is writing in this fragment, is experiences past, present, and future. And this is, as I said, mostly past and future, and briefly this moment. But that moment is glorified, even as the scriptures say, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Even if one associates with a sadhu for the 1/12 of the fraction of a second, then all perfection can come to him. So that's one aspect. The time is relative, past, present, future, and then make best use of this moment that we have. That's one thing. And then Prabhupada writes the nice sentence towards the end. It's like, seems mystical. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor are the moments objective realities. What does that mean? In themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. We will come back to that. But so time, from the Vedic conception, time is cyclical. Right? There are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Then there is a duration, Brahma, mass life. So time is relative. So we can discuss some pastimes. One pastime that comes to mind is the Brahma Vimohana Leela. So when Brahma, he stole the cowherd boys and the calves, and he imprisoned them in a cave. He wanted to see what is the limit of Krishna's mystic potency. Aghasura pastime had just happened, and he wanted to examine Krishna's limits, which is not a good thing to do. But anyway, it turned out that he glorified Krishna by that. So he imprisoned these cowherd boys and the calves, and then Brahma was blown apart. What did he see? He saw that in the cave, the cowherd boys and the cows were there. And then when he would look outside in Vraja, the same cowherd boys and cows were also there, playing as if nothing happened. So he was bewildered. So he would go to the cave. Okay, they are there. He would go outside, and they are there. And then he realized, he made a mistake. So all this happened, Acharyas explained, from Brahma's perspective, happened, in a mere moment or a day. But the Acharyas also explained that in Vrindavan, a whole year passed. And of course, when Krishna does something, he does multiple things at the same time. So he understands the heart of the devotees in Vraja. Many of them wanted to have Krishna as their son, somebody like Krishna as their son, but there can be nobody like Krishna as a son. It has to be Krishna himself. So he expanded himself. And for a whole year, he became the son of these mothers. And the mothers were bewildered, like, what's going on? This is Vraja consciousness. Usually parents have more affection for their children than other children, those children. Because we're trying to come to a platform of Vasudeva Kutumba. But we have more affection for our children. That was the general mood in Vraja. But the mood in Vraja was they would have more affection for Krishna than even their own children. So when this pastime was happening, so the mothers were bewildered. This is interesting. I'm feeling affection. This affection that I'm feeling for my child is comparable to the affection that I would feel for Krishna. How is that happening? Anyway, the reason I'm sharing all these things is because one of the things that is mentioned in the verse is the activities are set in motion by time. Yeah. So in the purview of time, activities happen. So here, the time is relative. So Brahma felt it was a moment, the whole year passed in Vrindavan. Okay. Then some other verses from Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter. How time, it is the same time, but how it works differently for different people. So in Bhagavatam, there is a verse, right? Usually, by the rising and setting of the sun, the sun takes away one more day, from a person who is not executing Krishna consciousness. So he comes closer to death. But at the same time, if somebody is engaged, like we are, in the chanting and hearing of the pastimes of the Lord, he goes towards eternal life. It's the same time, the same setting and rising of the sun, but it acts differently. So again, this another important thing is based on the consciousness of the person, time acts differently for that person. Because based on the consciousness of the person, the person will be engaged in different activities. And then based on that activities, his destination will be different. Yeah. Again, Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, the first few verses. Right? Yam yam vapi smaran bhava tajati ante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. So it's the same, yeah, same time, the final moments. But how does the devotee experience it? And where does he go? And how do other people experience it? So for others, Krishna says, those who don't accept him, he comes as that personified time. He says that. So again, it's the same time, but it acts differently based on the consciousness of the person. I mean, the prayojana is different, the activities are different, the way the modes of material nature act on them. Like we mentioned, again, we hear, right? The Brahma Muhurta time, early morning time, is fantastic for spiritual activities. What a goodness time. Gopal Hari Prabhu has been encouraging all of us to, to follow the morning program as Srila Prabhupada wanted us to, which is fantastic. So there is a time. So the mode of goodness time in the morning, and then as the day progresses, passion and ignorance set in. So if you think, as Prabhupada is saying, that sentence about objective reality, practical experience, yeah, if you think about it from the minutest level, it's a moment. It's just a moment. The moment in the morning and the moment in the evening is just a moment. It's the same moment if you objectively look at it. But the practical experience that we have is different. That's an example. How the time acts upon us is different. The modes of material nature, how they act in those times, they are different. So those are some of the verses. And again, beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, right? What is that? Paraphrasing here. What is day for the introspective sage is night for the materialist. And what is night for the introspective sage is day for the materialist. I mean, so it's not about day and night. What Krishna is saying is the materialistic person, he becomes enlivened when there is a chance for enjoyment, for enjoying the senses. And the introspective sage, he withdraws the senses like the tortoise. On the other hand, when there is an opportunity for devotional service, the introspective sage, he extends his senses, and the materialistic man, he withdraws. He said, I'm not interested. No, thank you. So it's just Bhagavad Gita. Again, how time acts differently. Again, in the scriptures, there are so many pastimes. Many times, Indra, he commits a mistake. He commits an offense, like the Vritrasura pastime. He's having a good time, right? He's sitting on the Vyasasan. He's sitting on his throne, and all the apsaras and everybody is performing for him. So his consciousness, he's thinking, wow, I am the king of the universe. That's his consciousness at that time. And in that moment, Brihaspati comes in, and he doesn't realize that his spiritual master has come in. He completely doesn't see it. And Brihaspati notes that, Guru Ravagya or Upeksha, and he immediately leaves the palace. And then he goes into hiding, and Indra realizes immediately, oh. So again, as I said, objective reality, practical experience. So the objective reality here is in that moment, Indra was completely lost in that, worship and all that. But then after some time, he realizes, oh, what happened here? Yeah. So he realizes that he made a mistake. He goes looking for Brihaspati. and nowhere to be found. Anyway, and then so meanwhile, I'm skipping the details. So meanwhile, the asuras, they come to know, oh, Indra has made a mistake. So this is a good time for us to attack the demigods because of their offense to the spiritual master. So their principles, so their potency will decrease, so we can attack them. So what is a sort of a bad time for the demigods is a good time for the demons in this pastime. And when he goes to Brahma also, anyway, so there are, and so the spiritual masters many times they instruct actually the disciple, like it comes even in Vamana Leela and that, and they buy time. They say the spiritual masters sometimes instruct, no, this is not a good time. This is a good time. That. So of course, this auspiciousness, etc., that's all relative stuff. Like again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the yogi. Yogi, he practices. He talks about living, in the Uttarayana time and in the Dakshinayana time, when the sun is moving to the north, sun is moving to the south. But Prabhupada in the purports later on he writes, the devotee is not concerned about all these things. So for a devotee, every day is auspicious. Like Gopala Hari Prabhu sent a nice message after the Kartik got over. This whole Kartik sale, he was saying, of course, we're not minimizing Kartik Mahatmya, but devotees don't need any additional incentives that, hey, it's Kartik or it's this or it's that. I mean, they will anyway do their, what they love to chant and hear and all that. And of course, they're also aware that there are some especially auspicious days like today, Ekadashi, or Kartik, or appearance, disappearance days, or festivals. But it doesn't mean that any other day is less auspicious for devotees. So Bhagavad Gita Krishna mentions that. Dvaite and Chaitanya Charitamrita also there. Dvaite Bhadra Abhadra Jnana. A Manodharma. A Bhala. A Manda. A Sabha Brahma. In the realms of duality, Dvaite Bhadra Abhadra. This is auspicious, this is inauspiciousness. It is all illusion. Thinking this is good, this is bad. It's, that's Chaitanya Charitamrita. So anyway, so what I'm saying is for devotee, every moment is an auspicious moment. He's engaged, he's interested in engaging in Krishna consciousness. A devotee is one of the qualities of a devotee is avyartha kalatvam. He doesn't waste even a moment in Krishna service. Like that. I had some other nice references. Yeah, I'll end with two things and then we'll leave enough time for question answers. So again, as I said, the time, we experience time according to our consciousness. So recently I was talking to a devotee and they were sharing with me that off late they have been feeling that, time is running very, very fast. Srila Prabhupada also had that sense always. He had a sense of urgency because when he came to the West, he was already advanced in age, at the age of 17. So he always had a sense of, this, not like us, like being oppressed by time, not like that. But Prabhupada had a sense of an urgency that I may not have much time. And so he was very, very judicious in the use of his time. And he could see, so he gave us a summary book of Krishna, thinking that I may not be around finish, the 10th canto. And it happened like that. He passed away when he was translating the 14th chapter of 10th canto. So Prabhupada had a sense of time. He had a sense when his spiritual master, he asked him early on in his life, whenever you have a chance, print books, go to the West. He had a sense, oh, I'm a grihastha now. I want to do this. How can I do this? And then Bhakti Siddhanta would come in his dreams from time to time, inviting him, come, take sannyas. And Prabhupada himself said, that was a horrible dream. Like, why is my spiritual master asking me to take sannyas? Like that. So Prabhupada was very, very aware. That he got instruction in his in mid-20s, and he prepared himself. And then he saw, what was happening with his business, with his family, and his instruction of his spiritual master always was there with him, guiding him. And he was preparing himself. And then he had a sense that this preparation can go on forever, but I need to take a step. I need to go now. I have the first canto of Bhagavatam ready. Bhagavad Gita is there with me. Like, this is important for us. Sometimes we feel, I'm not ready. No, the question is, are we willing? In a way, we are never ready for something. If we are willing, Krishna will work through us. So Prabhupada had a sense of time always. So anyway, this devotee I was talking to, she was saying that, I've been feeling that, time is, slipping away too fast. Uh, and of course, uh, it is also our experience, right? Especially the last 20, 30 years, at least for me, once I left college, wow, I mean, the years have just blown away. It seems like that. It feels like yesterday. So the experience that we have is different. So this devotee was sharing. So she was feeling that, oh, I want to do so many things for Krishna. Time is, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time, like that. So she was feeling like that. And so she was saying, and so one day one little late for a devotee means maybe like 5 o'clock or something. So she got up a little late and thought, oh my God, and she was sharing that she has a practice of chanting with her husband. That's the time that they have together. They have some very important stuff. They have a temple president's kind of a services they have. So she was sharing that, we make it a point to chant together. And I was thinking, oh my God, I got up late today. So like that was what was going on. And then she said she came to her room where there was a clock. And you wouldn't believe it. She was saying, and the clock was just going, it was going around like that. Like she was, oh my God, what's going on? And then she sort of ran to get her husband. She said, see, I'm telling you, time is running out so fast. And then, of course, her husband sort of calmed her down. Devi, it's the battery. There's an issue with the battery. So he replaced the battery. And then the clock was sort of moving normally. But anyway, we feel that the oppressive nature of time. But it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, we will always feel there's less time than what we have things to do. But as we know, time energy, it expands. When we use it in Krishna's service, it expands. And whatever is of value gets done. Yeah. If something remains, it is tomorrow. It is many years ago. Maybe it helps you. So I think this was fairly early. I mean, I think I had just received initiation 4 5 years or so into the movement. Yeah. And so the dream was this actually. So one night, I was driving in a car and then I pulled up. So there was a satsang program, and like Prabhupada Maharaj was having a satsang program in some urban location he has, Friday evening or something. And I was going to the program in the dream, and I pulled up my car And this very lush green lawn. And what happened was in that lawn, I saw a sight that sort of scared me and bewildered me. There was like a speckled and there was a python killed. It was white and black color, huge. It was sitting in the lawn, in the grass lawn. And then right next to that python there was a dog sitting. And I just pulled up the car, turned off my headlights. I mean, before I turned off the headlights, I saw the python and the dog. And I said, that's interesting. Wow. And the dog, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, how long will you sleep in the lap of the vigilant Maya? So the dog was completely oblivious that this python is right next to it. It can just grab him anytime. But anyway, so I said, that's interesting. And I saw, and then I went into the satsang program, the dog and the python. And somehow the dog finally woke up. And this time the dog, it tried to leave. When it tried to leave, the python got him. And there was a struggle between the python and the dog. And I was watching it, I was watching that. And somehow, the dog managed to escape. And then, of course, and then I woke up from the dream. I said, oh my God. But anyway, so I mean, you can say it's my interpretation, but what I understood from that is that dog was me. In one sense, I was just sitting. This black and white is not a coincidence. The python, the day and night python was looking like that, and I'm peacefully sitting as if no care in the world, and the python is waiting for me. But I going to the satsang and coming back, so I understood that I can escape this python if I continue to do this. Otherwise, I'm dead. So anyway, I'll leave you with that dream. uh, and see if there are any comments or questions. I know it's time, and if devotees want to leave, they can leave. Some devotees are from India. They join from India, so they can ask questions. It's up to you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I didn't cover each and everything, but please, as Maharaj has mentioned, this purport needs 200, 300 times of reading. Yesterday I was hearing a lecture of Maharaj on this verse. And each sentence is like another principle in itself, which requires elaborate explanation. I tried to cover almost all of them. How we experience time. Yeah, time set things into motion. Like Prabhupada gives the example again, I'll end with this, that how, like the small child, he has an innate capacity to walk. And when it is time, he begins to walk. Prabhupada says, a newly married lady, she may be impatient to become pregnant, but she cannot have a child, next day. But, if she serves her husband and she, in due course of time, she will have a child. So time sets things into motion, activities happen in time, then seasons, right? From an objective reality, it's the same day, right? It's the same time. 4 o'clock in January feels different than 4 o'clock in May, spring, the seasons. So it's a beautiful energy of Krishna, time energy. And of course, he asked about eternal time. So eternal time acts completely differently, actually. It acts differently than what we experience here. So how does that happen? How is that experience? I think we'll only know it when we get to it. Because if we try to understand a thing from its reflection, for example, if there's a tree and there is water, and if you see the reflection of the tree in the water, and if you try to touch the tree in the water, you will not get a sense of it. But if you touch the tree, then you'll get a sense of it. So Prabhupada explains that similarly. So this time that we experience here is in a way, it's a reflection of the eternal time. So we cannot fully comprehend how it does eternal time work, like in Goloka Vrindavan. How does it work? Okay, I hope this complicated subject of time was interesting for you. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Prabhupada. A couple of things that struck me was one where you talked about prayojana, and we always hear sambandha, abhidheya, prayojana being spoken together, and you very beautifully explained how if our sambandha with time is in the correct place, then the abhidheya, what we do with our time is also correct, and therefore the prayojana is also desirable. If
we don't need to worry about the prayojana. Correct. We don't need to worry about the prayojana on one level. Yeah, go ahead.
If not, then the prayojana is like the black and white snake. If that sambandha is not in the right place, so that was a very beautiful point. Somehow that struck me. And the second thing was, I've heard this quote where it says that by being present in the moment, we can access the eternal. And just to illustrate that, yesterday my brother went to take darshan of Balaji, and he said, as we've all been through that Jaragandi, so he probably had just a moment in front of the Lord. But when he came out, I asked him, "Oh, did you take darshan?" He said, "Yeah," and he very vividly described the Lord. He was wearing pink and red colored dress, and he was very effulgent and things like that. And I was amazed, especially with Balaji, we've had this experience, right? Like even if you're there for a moment, there is this spiritual satisfaction that is unmatched. Even if I spend those 16, rounds with the holy name, that moment, because that when you were speaking, I realized because that moment we've invested ourselves in it. And of course, the Lord gives the reciprocation. It is up to him. He may not, but I don't know. I just thought I'll share that experience. Perhaps you have a thought. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, well, anyway, wonderful. Yeah, correct. Similarly, as you're saying, like Shikshashtakam verse, I didn't quote that. That was on my list. Shikshashtakam verse 6, right? So the consciousness of a devotee, when he's in separation from Krishna, a moment feels like eternity. For us, it's the opposite. There's a chance for sense gratification. And when that is lost, then a moment feels like eternity, like that. So yeah, so based on the consciousness, as you're saying, based on the consciousness, our experience. So when Prabhupada talks about that in that beautiful sentence, read it again, time is not dependent on psychology. I was like, it's quite mystical sentence. And then he says, of course, there is an objective reality, but then the experience of the time is also based on practical experience. Right? Yeah. So wow, that's nice. Meaning, and we can understand that also, like let's say, as time goes on, for example, in this moment, let's say somebody, my mother-in-law or my father-in-law or my father, chastises me, or somebody chastises me in this moment. Of course, in this moment, the objective reality, I'm hurt. But the practical experience is that. But then as time goes on, that same experience that I had, 20 years ago, now I see it differently because my consciousness is different. My consciousness has changed. So I see that as mercy now. Wow, thank God, for that chastisement. So anyway, that sentence that Prabhupada has written there is like, wow. Right. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. Anything else? So
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
think Haribol. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Please,
Yeah.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I was thinking of what you said about Lord Indra being unaware of, not taking, not giving respect to his spiritual master that moment, and the consequences that followed. And similarly, Diti was observing Payovrata, and then that particular day evening, she forgot to follow one of the instructions, that is wash her mouth or something, and she fell asleep. At that moment, Indra is entering her womb to destroy her embryo. So this is really, so watchful. So watchful. How can one be so watchful? I'm thinking. Hare Krishna. when we are hearing Bhagavatam, mind goes somewhere. When we are chanting, mind goes somewhere. So I was just thinking about it. Hare Krishna. The consequences are, it's so terrible. Being, not paying attention, not being completely Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. I think we got some of it. Raju, are you saying something? Can't read well. It's a white screen, black text. Sorry.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु। बस मैंने उसमें ये लिखा था कि कैन आई स्पीक इन हिंदी, तो मैं अपना प्रश्न पूछ सकता हूँ आपसे?
Say that again?
प्रभु, मैंने उसमें यही लिखा था कि कैन आई स्पीक इन हिंदी, तो बस मुझे अपना प्रश्न पूछना था आपसे।
That's okay. You can speak in Hindi. I'll translate it back to English. And others, as again, if devotees want to leave, they can leave, please. No obligation to stay. Go ahead.
ओके प्रभु, थैंक यू प्रभु। थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे अभी मैरिज सेरेमनी हो रहा है, तो उसमें आवाज का प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। प्रभु, जैसे कि आपने आज टाइम के बारे में, काल के बारे में किया था, हम लोगों को बताया। तो प्रभु, मैं जानना चाह रहा था कि जैसे जो टाइम जो हमने बताया इंटरनल टाइम है, और उसमें मटेरियल नेचर के 3 गुण होते हैं जिससे ये पृथ्वी का निर्माण होता है, और पृथ्वी में चीजें वो उसके अंतर्गत आते हैं। तो जब ये टाइम भगवान का बनाया हुआ है, तो वो क्या वैकुंठ में वो काम नहीं करता है? क्या वहां पे अलग सेक्टर काम करते हैं? मतलब जब समय है तो समय तो अपना काम करेगा, तो वैकुंठ में समय काम नहीं करता है क्या? वहां पे लोग कैसे समय चलता है? वहाँ लोगों के इसमें, वहाँ जो भी आत्माएं रहती है उनमें क्या बदलाव होता है? प्रभु, ये रिलेटेड
Clearly. Maybe mine or your internet, not sure. Varshana Mata was clear. Okay.
प्रभु, रिपीट करूँ क्या? इंटरनेट का
question. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Just quickly repeat the question. Yeah.
प्रभु, जैसे जो इटरनल टाइम है, वो हमारे मटेरियल नेचर में, मटेरियल 3 गुणों से बन के बना है, और उससे पृथ्वी में सभी लोग, हम लोग जितने भी जीव है, वो उसी से निर्माण हुआ है, उसी के अंतर्गत हम सारे योनि में आते हैं। तो ये जो समय है वो भगवान के साथ रहता है, तो वैकुंठ में ये समय कैसे काम करता है? वहां पे 3 गुण काम नहीं करते हैं, या वहां पे कोई अलग फैक्टर रहता है? मतलब समय है तो वो अपना काम करेगा, तो वहां पे समय कैसे काम करता है, ये पूछना था। हरे कृष्ण।
You can leave me a question separately. Yeah.
ओके प्रभु, मैं आपको बता रहा। ओके प्रभु।
Breaking. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for your attention, and Bhagavatam is beautiful. Thank you to Lakshmikant Prabhu for taking this initiative and ISKCON approval for this daily Bhagavatam classes. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Devi Murti Mataji, for joining. And I'm the Vrindavan, everyone. Ravi Prabhu. Hare Krishna.